Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar brought to you by the Client Success Team of World Education Services. My name is Michael Hearn, Associate Director of Client Success. We at WES are excited to share some important updates and insights with you about the newly enhanced Access WES platform. So thank you for taking the time to join us. Our webinar will begin with an introduction to WES and our evaluation services, an overview of WES tools and resources, and information about WES's leadership in digital document submission, followed by a review of the new features of the Access WES platform, including a live demonstration from my colleague Deepak Sagandi. Before we get into the specifics of the platform, I'd like to give you a bit of context about World Education. WES is a nonprofit social enterprise with a powerful mission. It's our aim to support the educational, economic, and social inclusion of immigrants, refugees, and international students. We achieve this by partnering with diverse organizations, leaders, and networks to uplift individuals and drive systems change, from evaluating academic credentials to shaping policy and providing funding for nonprofits. WES has a rich history dating back to 1974 and a significant global impact. In addition, we are one of the founding members of NACES, the National Association of Credential Evaluation Services. To date, we've issued over 4 million credential evaluations, built over 10,000 global digital partnerships, and have a dedicated team of over 300 staff supporting you and your colleagues. Our reach is extensive, with collaboration spanning over 59,000 educational institutions, recognition from over 5,300 partners, and receipt of credentials from over 200 countries and territories. In addition to all of this, our team is fluent in over 50 languages and represent over 60 countries. As many of you on the call are from different parts of the overall industry, I'll say in the next slide that WES partners with a wide array of organizations across various sectors as well. WES credential evaluations are widely accepted across the US and Canada by institutions of higher education, licensing bodies, employers, and government and immigration agencies. Many applicants will order an evaluation for one purpose and come back later to use that report for another reason, highlighting the lifetime value of the evaluation. Talking about some benefits of partnering with WES, one of them includes personalized branding and marketing. Many of our partners set up a co-branded landing page, giving their applicants and candidates a unique pathway to the WES evaluation. We also welcome the opportunity to showcase your organization through collaborating on content. We have multiple publications, which I'll go through later, but we always welcome the opportunity to write content with our partners in those publications. In addition, WES offers designated account managers. The Client Success Team is a dedicated group of account managers focused on meeting the needs of our existing partners. They are available to assist with all things related to WES, including learning more about how to expand your partnership. So I'll be providing contact information later in our webinar to that effect. Additionally, there are no hidden costs. The cost of the evaluation is upfront and includes all credentials submitted at the time of evaluation. Document verification, course breakdown in the case of course-by-course evaluations, and upper and lower level course designation are all included in that cost. Additionally, we pride ourselves on lifetime value. A WES evaluation does not expire. And as mentioned earlier, someone applying to WES to pursue their studies will often order a duplicate copy years later as they are pursuing employment, immigration, graduate studies, or the like. One thing we're also very proud of is our 24/7 applicant support. With the support of our customer solutions team, our help page and related resources, and our recently launched applicant chatbot, applicants can reach out to us and get the information they need whenever they need. And then finally, custom integrations. In addition to the Access WES platform, WES offers a free and direct integration with Slate CRM, as well as other digital delivery methods, which I will talk about momentarily. Our client success team is dedicated to supporting you and your process every step of the way. The client success team and your dedicated account manager are available to provide information on how to make WES your preferred evaluation provider, clarity on evaluation equivalencies, customized insights regarding your application pool, and a number of other services. We also offer Access WES account support, such as the training you're in now, Slate, XML, and SFTP delivery setup, co-branded landing page setup, and strategic account management. Really, any way that we can enhance the partnership with you is something that we can explore, as well as a variety of other information and topics. The members of the client success team travel throughout the US and Canada, meeting with our existing partners, making connections at internationally focused conferences, and providing WES information sessions to partners and their applicants. In addition, you will often find us presenting at conferences and directly to our partners on topics ranging from safeguarding against fraud to topics concerning international mobility trends, the effect of government policy, and other related topics. Please contact the client success team to schedule an in-person or virtual meeting to learn more. We can provide our information upon request, and I can also say that we're all available at clientsuccess@wes.org. WES provides a wealth of information and informative resources and tools, including World Education News and Reviews, the WES IGPA Calculator, Canada and US free degree preview tools, the WES Voice, and more. Just going in a bit of reverse order, WES Voice is a publication where you will find some of the latest news at WES and resources to help you stay informed about current trends in international education. In addition, each month we spotlight stories from leaders at WES, partners, and applicants. We welcome you to reach out to partner with us to develop content and share insights on topics that are important to you. Chances are they're going to be important to someone else in the same field. World Education News and Reviews, first published in 1987, is an authoritative news and information source for professionals in international education. Published throughout the year by WES, WENR keeps readers well informed of education developments around the world and includes practical how-to articles on credential evaluation, international admissions, and recruiting. The WES IGPA Calculator is a free tool that can be used by applicants and partners alike to obtain a preliminary US grade point average calculated on 4.0 scale. And then finally, the free degree preview tool, similar to our IGPA calculator, can be used by applicants or partners to learn more about what a degree is comparable to in the US or Canada. And those are, again, both free resources to our partners and our applicants. Before handing it off to Deepexa, I just want to mention one more piece, which is our digital first approach. At WES, we're committed to this digital first approach to better serve our partners. This slide highlights our global digital partnership community, which has grown to over 10,000 partnerships, ranging from verified third-party organizations to individual issuing institutions throughout the world, all combined to streamline the delivery of reports and documents. To put this into context, before 2021, we were receiving about 7% of our documents digitally. We're now at about 85% of our documents being received digitally. So just to let you know the progress that's been made over the last several years. I want to thank you all for your time as we provided a broad view of WES Services and the client success team. I'll be back with Deepexa later on after the presentation to do some Q&A. But right now, I'd like to introduce you to Deepexa Gandhi, Sales Operations Manager, who will take us through the next section of the webinar and provide a more in-depth look at what has changed in Access WES, including a live demonstration of the platform. Deepexa, over to you.
Thanks, Michael, and welcome everyone again. Thank you for joining today's demo session on our newly refreshed and enhanced Access WES online delivery system, including a great introduction about client success from Michael Hearn. We are excited to introduce these updates designed to improve your experience as client administrators. I will walk you through a live demo to show you the key enhancements and how they can make managing your account more efficient. Before we do that though, let's actually start by identifying what does it actually mean to be a client administrator? A client administrator is you. You're joining our webinar today. All client administrators were invited to join us for the one of 3 webinars we hosted. And as a client administrator, you are the primary account owner. You're responsible for maintaining accurate and up-to-date information in the platform. Our administrators play a key role in managing the accounts effectively and ensuring that the platform operates seamlessly for your users. The new self-service feature sections enhance your ability to control Access West user permissions efficiently. You are our primary point of contact. Our client success team, as well as our business team, value staying connected with you as our partners to ensure effective and clear communication. Before we log in, I want to just show you that the main page also features a section dedicated to important announcements. You can see that here where it has a Canada Post information here. This banner will display any critical information that you may need. You will see that Access West now travels with you. So whether you're on your desktop, laptop, or tablet, your smartphone, you can log into Access West and take the platform wherever you go. The new enhancement also includes a multi-browser functional accessibility. And what that means is the platform functions on Safari, on Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Google Chrome. Let's go ahead and log in to Access West. So we're going to go ahead and hit the login section here. Okay. Now, when you enter Access West, you are going to arrive to the first page, which is the evaluations page. Let's start with the evaluations tab here. We have updated the functionality search to make it easier to locate your evaluations. I'm going to go over to the right and use the filter to search by status. By default, the status will be set to all, but you can adjust as needed. Additionally, the date range is set to 6 months, which is also something that you can modify as you start your search. You can also filter the files based on whether they have been viewed or not. When we select viewed, that means you or someone from your organization listed as a user has already viewed the evaluation. Not viewed means it has not been opened at all. Let's go to the search box here, and we're going to search by reference number. West recommends that you start your search using the West reference number. It will give you the most accurate data, whereas searching by first name, last name, or even date of birth might muddy your search. Let's click back over to the status and select a status. I'm going to select in progress. I'd like to know, what does actually in progress mean? We actually get this question quite often, and some of you might be asking it in the chat. But I'm going to go ahead and click in progress, and let's see what happens. You'll be brought to a new page, which gives you a full overview of what the in progress status means. Indicated here is that the evaluation is currently in review. You will also see more detailed information about this applicant, where you can see exactly where they've attended, where the evaluation transcripts are coming from, what the applicant has submitted, what version have they submitted, and if they've submitted it yet or not. As you can see, nothing has been submitted and the status is not received. If there's any uncertainty on what not received means, there's an additional status key down here to the left. If you're unfamiliar with documents required based on country, you can click over to the documents requirements link here. It will open up into a new page. There's also a section here for required documents, just in case you want to take a look. If there's additional questions that you may have at the moment, you can click on the link here for customer support. Let's go back over to our main page. We're going to click over to the next tab, which is for users. As you can see here, the gold banner will allow users to see exactly who the administrator is when they are logged in. Administrators can now add and remove users seamlessly. You can allow users to download reports without making them an administrator by selecting Yes to download reports. Let's go ahead and add some users and also remove some users. When you're trying to add a user, right here in the platform, select the tab here that says Add User. You're going to enter the user's email address, enter their name, and you want to select Yes for downloading reports. You will want to keep administrator as a no because you want to remain the administrator on the account. Let's go ahead and select Submit. This user has now been added, as you can see here. The user will be emailed their login credentials, and you as the administrator will be copied on that email. That's also another way to completely acknowledge that you have successfully added this user. Now, let's go to where we want to remove a user. Select the user that you wish to remove. Toggle over to Edit. Double check that this is the user you wish to remove and select Delete. You will get asked, are you sure you want to delete? And you want to select Yes. However, if you make a mistake, you can still select Don't Delete and it'll bring you back to this page. You may want to do one additional item. Let's say that you are now moving on. Perhaps you are no longer looking to be the administrator on the Access West account. You would like to transfer these rights over to another individual. Select the user that you wish to transfer your rights to and select Edit. Confirm their email address and their name. You still want to keep download reports as Yes, but where it says administrator, you're going to flip it to Yes. You will get a prompt that says you are transferring admin privileges to and the individual's name. Please be sure to enter their job title and their phone number. Since they will become the primary point of contact for Wes, client success, and our business team, we want to ensure that we have the admin's information up to date as well in our database. Once you've made this entry, you will go ahead and select Submit. You will no longer in real time be the administrator on the account. You will be defaulted as a user. That means once you have logged out and you end up logging in, you are then logged in as a user. And the new user that's been transferred administrator rights will then be highlighted in the gold banner. Now, because I still need to do this demo, I'm not going to transfer these rights over to anyone. So I'm going to hit cancel. If there is not a user listed in your Access West user list, but you do want to make someone new, the admin, you simply still need to go to Add User, complete the information, and where it says administrator, select Yes. You can add them right into the administrator role. Let's go ahead and cancel. Let's toggle over to the Settings tab. At the moment, you have just the option to reset your password. Wes, for security measures, would like for you to select a hint question and an answer. Another feature that we will be bringing over is the Help tab. You might see some more improvements as we continue to enhance the platform. In order to connect with us or to make some changes, we wanted to show you that you do have some other ways to connect with us by using the question mark down here to the right. You can see it flashing on any single tab that you're on, but once you select it, you will be brought over to the Help tab. If you're the administrator on the account, now that you have experienced the demo and some of you have already started making your own changes in your Access Wes account, you can continue to add and remove users as well as transfer administrators while you are the administrator on the account. The change user request form will be decommissioned by next week. That's May 15th, 2025. However, we will be making some changes to the change admin request form. So this form will still be live and visible. So if you have it saved, by all means, you can still continue to use it if needed. For additional assistance, you do have the Contact Us link here. Now let's go down to About Wes reports. When you're searching for evaluation reports or just trying to understand what the Wes report includes, there are some report terms and conditions that you might want to acknowledge. The second PDF that we've added here is understanding and using the Wes evaluation. While you're reviewing the Wes evaluation, if a question comes up, perhaps it's regarding GPA or grading scale, this document will provide some insight on how to read the Wes evaluation. For those of you that have requested the French translation feature, if you click over to the French button, the entire user interface will switch over to French language. This is designed to enhance the accessibility for our French-speaking partners. Two additional things that we will add. Access Wes accounts have now enabled two-factor authentication. When you log in, you will notice that you are asked to provide a one-time passcode. This is a 5-digit code that expires after 10 minutes to your assigned email address. You will need to enter that one-time passcode to log in. Lastly, we will say that for Wes administrators, we do request your personal email address. That means your email address that you use on a daily basis at your organization. General email addresses do not work for the two-factor authentication. And as we said before, you are our primary point of contact. When we need to reach your organization, we need to reach you directly. As you want to be mindful when you're making these changes in the platform, please ensure that even if you transfer administrator rights, you are transferring administrator rights to a specific individual and their email address, not a general department one. I hope you've enjoyed our demo today. I'm going to pass it over to Michael to go into some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Tepexa. And thank you to everyone who has been on the call. I think the best way that this has worked has been for people to submit their questions into the chat. Again, I'll plug the email that Tepexa put into the chat. It's clientsuccess@wes.org. You can feel free to reach out to us whenever you need anything regarding client success related inquiries or anything pertaining to Wes. We are your first line. There is a question in the chat. Yes, from Robin.
We do have a question in the chat. We also have two questions in the Q&A, Mike, if you want me to read them out to you.
Absolutely. I think that'd be great.
So can you talk more about the integration opportunity between Wes and Slate? We'll answer that live for you, Sarah.
Yes, absolutely. Our integration with Slate is one where an institution, organization will be able to retrieve West reports and integrate them directly into their Slate CRM. I'm going to put a link into the chat, which provides you with specific information and steps on um, how to review this information and how to have it set up. So the West Slate integration automatically uploads completed West evaluations directly into your existing Slate system. The way that it does that once a day, I believe it's at 10 o'clock in the evening. How it works is it's no cost to the institution. Effectively, what we do is we ask you to submit the required information to set up the account, such as your Slate Web Services post URL. And then that link, which I provided in the chat, outlines the steps to prepare your institution's Slate system for the integration. We follow up by sending a test file and ensure that the integration is working properly. And then once it's active, completed West credentials evaluations will automatically upload directly into your Slate system at the end of each day. So that is effectively how it works. That link in the chat also provides an FAQ of questions that may come up. Again, it's at no cost to the institution. It works in alongside Access West, so you don't give up an Access West account by going with a Slate account. You are still able to retrieve files one at a time. Most importantly, you're still getting those notifications and status updates. So they offer different things, but I would recommend the Slate integration for anyone who has the Slate platform. And regardless of the number of files you are receiving, obviously, if it's 1,000 or more, it's going to be easier to download them in batches, but it's useful for all institutions that have a Slate CRM.
Thanks, Michael. I'm going to just answer the next two questions because they could be quick answers. And that question did come up about one or two times. So at the moment, the question is, yes, can there only be one administrator for the account? That is correct. You can only have one primary administrator on the account. However, if you want another individual to receive general notifications, typically our setup is the administrator, as the primary account owner, can add and remove users. You are the administrator. We are enhancing more features for our administrators as well. But the general notifications that our organizations receive is when an application is completed, canceled, or an application received, meaning an applicant has added you as a recipient. You can actually add up to 3 email addresses for general notifications. So if you don't want to be pinged normally with so many notifications, you might want to default that to a general department email address. Or if you have someone who's sort of a second in command for you, you can do that. You cannot do that feature on the current portal at this time. So we do encourage that type of inquiry or request to go to clientsuccess@west.org. The second question that came up is actually a funny one because the request is there a conversion for Spanish? The French translation was a big one that we were trying to achieve. And as you may know, there's a ton of things on the back end that have to be updated in French and making sure that we have it down correctly. We are working on a phase 2 enhancement. So adding other languages is part of the scope. So we do encourage you to stay tuned and we will add that request into our discovery for phase 2 as well. Those are the 2 questions I wanted to make sure we tackle. Mike, do you want me to read out the next one or do you have it?
Sure. Yeah, I have it. I'll ask, it comes from Alana, who asks, how does West determine which reports show up in the homepage when you initially log in before you search for anything? It's a great question. Those reports go back historically up to about 2 years. We are putting the reports in your account that specifically have listed you as a recipient of their file. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, you will be able to see any reports for whom you've been selected as a recipient. The way that an applicant is able to do that is by either during the application process or anytime after the application has been and the report has been completed, they can order a duplicate copy or an additional copy to be sent to you specifically, and then that will route it to your account.
And Alana, it's defaulted to 6 months. When you log in, you'll see 6 months as the status. So that's the default. But when you hit all, it will backdate for 2 years to Michael's point.
How may I download the smallest size for the reports? This sounds like a DPEXA question, but I'm not sure we have that information on hand, but I defer to DPEXA on this one.
Actually, Jacqueline, thank you very much for that question. If you can just elaborate, do you mean in terms of file size in terms of PDF? I'm not exactly sure if we can actually control that because it's kind of baked in, but it seems more of a technical question that I would like to pin and get back to you on. And I do apologize, I actually don't have an answer for you on that.
But if you would like to reach out to us, clientsuccess@wes.org, that information can be yours in the next 24 hours. We'll make sure to connect with our IT colleagues to get you that information. I would like to ask a question of you, DPEXA. Megan Tobias asks, we at Stanford Graduate Admissions have noticed delays in some WES evaluations being sent into Slate via the Slate integration. For example, one evaluation was completed in early April, hasn't been pushed. Is there a reason behind this, a way to troubleshoot this?
I mean, this is definitely a one-off situation. There's a couple of scenarios that could have happened. One of the scenarios is there could be a file corruption, meaning if evaluations are completed and they get pushed into Access West, and then there's a corruption that happens between Access West and Slate, it could just be an instance. If you do have the reference number or numbers, perhaps you could send that over to clientsuccess@wes.org. The only reason I ask for that, and definitely not to put it out here now in the chat, is because we might want to see if there's a trend of this happening with other Slate instances. And that way, if something we have to troubleshoot for you, we do want to tackle troubleshooting it for other accounts as well. We did have a little bit of a delay with the Slate instance back in the fall, which did take a little bit of time to resolve. And we're hoping that that's not the instance that's happening. This is the first I'm hearing of the delay. So if you can send that over to us, we'll be happy to tackle it and get you an answer.
Thank you very much. Alana writes, is there a way to change the default date from 6 months to all? Or do I have to change it each time? I believe that default is 6 months. Is that what you were saying, DPEXA?
It is, yeah, it is 6 months. So Alana, we kept it for 6 months just to make sure that when you log in and if you do select it to all, depending on how busy your Access West account is, we just don't want it delaying everything populating. So that's why it's set to 6 months. Once you're in the platform, you can default it to all. The other thing is we have made the searching by reference number a lot quicker. So we do ask, if you are looking for a specific reference number, use the key search towards the left, and that'll help you get to the evaluations quicker. Going to all, you're probably going to end up scrolling hundreds. Hopefully you have hundreds of evaluations that you're searching by. We don't also want the platform to crash on you either. So that's why the default is to 6 months. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Anne, who asks, what are the circumstances under which WES will accept copies of required documentation when completing a client's report? If you could provide some clarity on this question, I would be very grateful. But to answer it the way I'm understanding it, the circumstances by which documents are submitted vary. Sometimes within a specific institution in a country, most often country document requirements are standard across the country. That's the rule, not the exception. And the comprehensive list of required documents, while it's also found in the application itself, so when an applicant is applying for a WES report, they are asked to review those documentation requirements, consent to them, and then be asked to follow them. There is a preliminary tool where you can see what the required documents are before going through the application process. And I will condense the incredibly long link that I was about to type into the chat and send you a link that provides that information. But it effectively, if you go to wes.org, then click on required documents, you will be taken to that effectively that search tool that will then provide you with the specific documentation requirements for the circumstance your applicant is in.
So while Michael's, I think, pulling up that link, I'm going to just tackle some questions that have dropped in the Q&A. Will this recording be available to view later or to show to our teams? Yes. Our plan is to actually put the recordings in more of a Q&A format, as well as how to add and remove users and transfer admins in our help tab in the Access WES platform. For those of you that attended the webinar, we do intend on sending the recording along with the PDF of the deck that we presented. As you saw, there are some links in there. So we want to make sure that you can click on those links and bookmark them as needed. So short answer, maybe too long at this point, yes. And the next question is, you want to clarify that you can have 2 administrators. That is not correct. I would not give you any points if we were playing for points here. So you can only have 1 administrator. Only 1 person can have that gold banner. But if you wish to add another individual to receive general notifications, we can do that for you. You can do up to 3 email addresses for general notifications. That feature right now is not available in the current platform to make that request. So you do want that request to head over to clientsuccess@wes.org, and we can accommodate that for you. Now, the next question that came up was, can you add an archive feature for clients to utilize? I think this is a wonderful question and a wonderful request. I literally finished the list for phase 2 discovery on all the things that we could look at in adding features to. So thank you for putting this out there. We would be happy to put it as a request from client directly. We have had requests in the past where an applicant maybe has changed their mind or, didn't meet the deadline for whatever reason, something happened and, they just kind of prompted their enrollment at a hold. But perhaps they came back a year or 2 later and want to utilize that WES evaluation. It is archived. It would just need to be re-imported because we do archive from 2 years after. So instead of doing that request to re-import, perhaps that archive button would help. The next question is, if we need a rep from WES to help with the Slate integration setup for Slate, who can we call? So this question is coming from Nicole. Nicole, I believe Michael put the link in to do the Slate setup. If you just fill out that form, our colleague Sean Patton, who is the business development manager, would basically be the individual setting up your account from start to finish. I will also give a caveat. We are transitioning the process over from one individual to our information technology team. So the functionality is in process to change, but if you get your requests in, at least within the next week or so, it will be Sean setting you up.
And I would just, for good measure,
yes.
Many of you on this call have an assigned client success account manager. To acquire that information, you can go to clientsuccess@wes.org. If you don't know it already, hopefully many of you already do. That means we're doing our jobs well. But ultimately, if you reach out to us at clientsuccess@wes.org, we can provide you with that information and in the meantime, troubleshoot any issues that you may be having with your Slate integration or any questions you have about the setup process.
You want to take some questions, Mike? Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to pivot to some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you contact each overseas institution to check their authenticity? Great question. We do keep a robust database of overseas institutions. We have a policy team. We are constantly looking at not only current events, but accreditation and other factors to ensure that our database is up to date and is reflective of the most relevant information in creating these authenticity processes. So, for example, if there is a conflict in a particular country, or if circumstances have changed and we can no longer uh, verify the authenticity of documents, that information will be reflected in our required documents page. In cases where we cannot evaluate from an entire country, it's rare, but it's something that will be reflected in our documents page. So the short answer to that question is we don't contact each overseas institution every time, but we keep a running database of information to ensure that these documents are being received authentically. And we also rely on source documentation, getting the documents directly from the source or the institution. But we also vet those contacts as well.
Thanks,
We
Mike.
have,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna answer. I think I'm gonna try to answer these two in one. When will you start offering non-slate institutions the options to retrieve evaluations electronically without logging into Access West? So non-slate, some different type of secure file transfer process. And there's also a question about Wes and Workday. Thank you for adding these questions in. It's again something I can take back and put in the phase 2 repository. So I do appreciate that. At the moment, this is a question more for our technology team, which I would love to carry out and get you some answers on that. The other question that I wanted to maybe pivot over to you, Michael, is what is the best way to contact the evaluator if we have a question regarding an application? I'm guessing it's regarding an evaluation. Perhaps we're talking about a completed evaluation. That question came from Rebecca. If you want to just clarify, it is a completed evaluation.
Yes, we have. I may have mentioned this in the introduction. We complete up to about 500,000 evaluations per year, and so in order to ensure that there's continuity in the person you're going to be contacting, our client success team as the front line for our existing partners. You can field all of those questions to us, and we will get that appropriate information to you. So if you have a question about how an equivalency was come to, how it was composed, if you will, or if you have questions about the process behind it, maybe perhaps, for example, you're going through an reaccreditation process at your institution, then we can provide that information and, if needed, connect you with the appropriate individuals. So that would be the way to do that, is reaching out to the client success team.
Thanks, Mike. I'm gonna just pivot to a Q&A again. If you add additional users, will they have two-factor authentication using their own email addresses? Yeah, so if you as the administrator add as many users as you want, I would try to limit it to how many people go into your Access West account. As long as you have entered their email address properly, they will be able to log in with their login credentials, set their password, and they will be emailed the one-time passcode to their email addresses. There's a question in the chat that I think we might want to do some clarifying. Mike, I might actually want your help in answering this regarding the Slate integration. So many Slate questions today. We may need to do something about Slate sometime soon. If an applicant submits a WES evaluation via the Liaison CAS system, would there be an extra charge for the evaluation? It says information, but I'm guessing it's evaluation to be available via Slate as well. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, we're basically looking at this. If I divide it up, we're looking at two orders, right? So if the applicant has selected Liaison CAS as the initial recipient, when they have initially ordered their evaluation, they are paying that fee in full. Now, at a later time, even if it's a day later, if they decide they want to send a duplicate report to a recipient that has Slate integration. They are just paying for the duplicate report to be sent, not the full amount. But why would they send it to two? If
Yeah,
they're, yeah.
that's a great question. No, that's a great question. Thank you, Courtney. It's a question we don't get often. I would say
Mhm.
that if they submit it via a liaison CAS, my understanding is that the CAS would need the Slate integration, but to Depex's point, a duplicate copy later on would only be, the charge later on would be for a duplicate copy directly to the institution. Just to give you some inside baseball, when we are asking for that liaison CAS information, we ask for a CAS ID number so that that information can be routed to the appropriate end recipient who happens to be, anybody on this call. Stay tuned. We have ongoing process improvement with that particular piece of the liaison, West liaison process. So more information will be unveiled in the next couple of months to that effect. But in the meantime, we would love some clarity on that question if you do want to share some additional information so that we can better answer that question.
We have a question from Cindy. How easy is it for someone to upgrade an evaluation? The example given is immigration to course by course, and is there a limit to how much time passes for someone to request the upgrade? That's a great question. I'm not privy to the evaluation process, so to speak, in this area, but I would just err on the side of caution when it comes to an evaluation that specifically the purpose is for immigration. There are a lot more different stipulations to an immigration evaluation. So if it ends up being that and a new evaluation is requested, it might end up being just a whole new evaluation, just because the report could be different. Um, Mike, anything that you want to add on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna take this question and then pivot to the chat and answer a couple questions in rapid fire. The answer to that question is in the US, the immigration evaluation does not expire, can be upgraded relatively easily to a different report, like a course by course. I say relatively because if a lot of time has passed, then we'll need to take into consideration new document standards and requirements so that the reissued report reflects existing documentation standards, and we're not issuing off of photocopies when now we issue off of verified documents, as an example. For the only caveat is that IRCC, which is Immigrant Refugee Citizenship Canada, which is the immigration arm of the Canadian government, the report there expires after 5 years, but the way to renew that report is to order a duplicate copy. So that is the only stipulation. It's the only caveat, is that IRCC reports expire after 5 years, and in order to reactivate them, for lack of a better word, is to order a duplicate copy of that report. So that's hopefully the answer to your question there. Carly asks, I am from a school administrator. I've pre-read this question. I think the general idea is we currently now have the functionality in Access West where a report will say viewed or not viewed. And I think what you're getting at, Carly, is that it used to say completed, and then when it was read, it was unbolded. The word completed was unbolded. This viewed, not viewed represents, in our view, no pun intended, a more clear-cut way of expressing that information. But it's definitely something that we can take into account so that in future iterations of this platform, if enough people are asking for that functionality change, then we can take that into consideration.
Absolutely, Carlin. Yes. To echo Michael, it is a feature that has been requested not just by our client administrators, but also some of the West staff that assist client administrators day in and day out. So it is on the phase 2 scope to revisit and perhaps see a new way to include that back in. We do acknowledge that some of the features in the previous version were functioning and perhaps maybe needed to stay still. So thank you for bringing that up. It has been requested.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anne, to your question, Anne asks, you received, this was a follow-up to the documentation question, and you mentioned that something was the applicant submitted. The translations of documents can be submitted by applicants because they are not the source documents that we're using to complete the evaluation. So if it says something to that effect, it's not representing a contradiction to our required document policies. It's just one additional document that does not have to be submitted in that same format, through that same method. And then finally, nope, we already answered the slate question. Do we have any additional questions in the Q&A?
Yeah, we do. We have one question coming from Kevin Silvera Lewis. This is, are your fees affordable to students in poorer countries where US dollar is scarce?
That is a very common question we get from our recipients. We do take that into account. We have a program here at West called the West Gateway Program. It is more designed to respond to individuals coming from countries in conflict, but you'll often find individuals coming from those scenarios in a position where it might be a hardship to pay a fee to complete a credential evaluation. For that purpose, the Gateway Program is no cost to applicants going through that process. You can find more information about the West Gateway Program by going to west.org, and I will actually put the link to the program in the chat. So it is for 7 specific countries, which are outlined in the information that I'll be sharing. But in terms of we keep our costs. We're a nonprofit organization. We try to keep our costs at level with the cost of living, and so in terms of our report, the thing I want to highlight very importantly is the no hidden costs. Nothing is a la carte. When you apply for a WES evaluation, it's not that you're going to be asked to pay additional for course by course and for upper and lower level course designation. That's all baked into the fee itself. And so I'd be happy to discuss just some alternatives and some other ways to approach that offline. You can contact our department, and I can actually reach out as well in following up to this webinar.
The last question we have is, does WES have fast services?
We have a commitment to turnaround times that are reflected in the industry. As Pexa was mentioning last year, we had some production delays that affected the turnaround time of our evaluation process. As a result of that, we actually now have a very transparent website where you can select the type of evaluation and then get the corresponding turnaround times that are we're seeing for that particular kind of evaluation. I'm going to send that. I'm the links person today, so that link is now available in the chat. If you just go to west.org/current processing, it will provide insight into what the average processing times are for a particular kind of file. They're standard to the industry. The work that is done is a very complex process. I can tell you that when an applicant and when people follow they follow the required documents process, the faster we can get the documents, the faster we can complete the report. So that's very often the biggest factor in terms of timing. And so that is what we will overall encourage our recipients to do, is to ensure that people know from the beginning what the document requirements are, get on obtaining those documents quickly, and wherever possible, submitting them digitally, because all of those things will reduce the overall processing time.
Thanks, Michael. We have one last question. We also want to thank everyone who has stayed the entire time for the Q&A. We're so
Yeah,
grateful
thank
that
you.
you
Means
have
a lot.
found it very helpful. We hope that as client administrators, you take the findings and the information provided you today back to your teams, and just know that we do anticipate significant enhancements for phase two for Access West, and hopefully to do more of these webinars later on in the future. We're just going to go to this one last question. And that is, oh, there's one more question. But it looks like, Rebecca, it's okay if it was a while. Please still go ahead and screenshot or forward that thread over. We want to ensure that we rectify the scenario that you experienced. The last question, sorry. Do you charge extra to include the official transcripts slash diploma with your evaluation? I feel like this is more ICAP.
This is a softball question, so I'd be very happy to answer it.
Okay.
Okay. No, Depexa, please go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say that's actually one of the pillars of our process. If you are on this call, you have an Access West account, and as part of the Access West process, those documents are included digitally in the report. So when you receive that report, you're doing a service to your applicants to get all of the documentation submitted digitally through the Access West account. Why I would still encourage you to have your applicants order the ICAP report. One, because I work at West, but also two, because you don't know what other institutions or what other purposes those applicants are applying for. And so while you are doing a service to the applicant by having an Access West account and ensuring that you're receiving them digitally, that's not going to be across the board. And so we encourage applicants to get that ICAP evaluation. So regardless of whether the recipients have an Access West account or not, the report will include the verified academic credentials along with it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. I would like to wrap by sincerely thanking Depexa Gandhi, our sales operations manager, putting this all together, playing an integral part in the launch of this new platform. I want to thank all of you. Again, 45 people sticking around is a big deal for us, so thank you. It means a lot to us. So you will be receiving some follow-up materials after this webinar. Please reach out to us for any reasons related to us at clientsuccess@west.org, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Have a great day, everyone.